You've got 37 or more tabs open in your brain. Your business, your emotions, your family, all of the things that are on your plate, and none of them are helping you. Especially none of them are helping you say the thing, do the thing, and be the person you know deep down inside you're meant to be. You feel scattered, overwhelmed, and more than anything, worse than anything, you feel completely invisible. Nobody sees it. You're doing all these things, and it's not feeling like it's doing anything. This isn't just noise, it's also a resistance inside of you. So, what we're going to do today, we're hitting the great big giant reboot button, and we're going to do a hard reset on you and move you from the locked up computer feeling to clear, cleansing flow that is going to make the difference that only you can make in this world. Are you ready to join me on that today? Okay, let's go. Hi, my name's Steve Kidd. I am a third generation minister, international best-selling author of 39 books now and counting, a whole bunch of new and cool ones coming out for you here soon. I've had the blessed, wonderful privilege to work with over 5,000 people, helping them write, publish, market their books to bestseller. And more than that, have worked now for 40 years in marketing space, doing the one and only thing, the thing that I'm called to, the thing that I know in the heart and soul and core of me is what I'm meant to do. And that's to be here today to help you be clear. I am here to architect your visibility because your visibility comes from your clarity. And I am the clarinet of clarity today in your life. I literally just came up with that one off the top of my head. Let me know if you like it. And if you hate it, you can let me know that too. Or you can just keep that to yourself. That's totally fine too. We'll invite a couple of people here while we're just finishing off our intro. I want you to know I'm here for you. Okay, I know what you do is absolutely amazing. I know how powerful you are and how much you have to give to the world. But I also see how bad you're struggling. I know how difficult it is, not only because I find myself often going through it and because I have been through it, but also because I see you. I know you. And I know what you're here to do in this world. And I'm here today to help you out. So, for many of you like me, you find yourself doing multiple things. Now, I learned something really cool last Friday about myself. And it's really helped me a lot this last weekend. I discovered that personality type wise, in the particular personality test, this one's called Human Design, in that I'm what they call a manifesting generator. So not just a manifester, not just a generator, but a manifesting generator. And that the basic concept of that is that once I get one plate, or as I'm getting one plate spinning, I'm also getting another. And that it's just normal for me to have multiple plates spinning. Okay. And so what I now have to, that explains everything about me, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, what I have to now learn how to do, and what I'm here to do for you today, is to help you be able to see through all my spinning plates and help you be able to see what's really clear for you. Now, maybe you're that same personality type, or like Patricia, maybe you're a projector. Okay. Maybe you need to see it to have it to be real. Maybe you need to have it be a visually, real kind of a thing for you. And if I got projector wrong, Patricia, feel free to put here and I'll correct that. But my understanding of that, um, you know, I want you to be able to see it in your way, who you are, where you are. And so for that, that's why I love this thought that popped into my head. I was originally just playing with, you need to be clear, but you're not clear enough to be clear. And I was like, how do we be able to say that in a way that can kind of really make it clear for people? And then I had, funny because I was trying to craft, put together the description and all those kind of things. And I do have Chat GPT that helps me with that. And I was in the middle of trying to craft that, and my computer just totally froze up. Okay, now in total transparency to those of you who don't know me, in any given time, I have anywhere from 50 to 300 tabs open. That's just a normal day. Okay, I also always have at least one instance, usually two, of Firefox, and probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 30 instances of Chrome that are running on my computer. Projectors can create an image out of anything. We respond and magnify. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I love that. And so it's just normal for my brain to be that place. And, for me, it gets totally frustrating when the computer's like, you're using way too much of the resource load on our computer. And you need to have somewhere in the neighborhood, probably you should have, like a terabyte of RAM, which is, like mass. And for those of you that don't understand, most of your computers are probably running on somewhere between 8 and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and so a terabyte would be a lot more than that. Okay, it'd be like 1,000 or whatever, but that's just, and it's going to, so it's all stuck up, right? Not because it's snooty, but because it's just stuck. And I'm getting all frustrated with it, which, getting frustrated with inanimate objects. If you find yourself doing that, that's when you need a reboot, okay? And so I went down, and you can always tell when the resources are overloaded on a computer when you click on the button to be able to get to the restart button, and it takes a while for you to be able to actually be able to click that button. And then it takes a while for it to actually give you the choice to restart. That's when you know that you've got too much open. And the same thing is true in our lives. And some of you, I went way techno geek on you, and you're just like, oh boy. All right. And others of you, you're like, yeah, I totally know. Right. Yes, that's the time to reboot the computer and go get a snack. Or, spend those moments to shave real quick, not necessarily real well, but real quick, and, throw on a collared shirt and be ready for your live, those kind of things that we do to prep to go live, even though it ended up meaning I was like 15 or 20 minutes late getting here. Had to do it because we would have totally hung up in the middle of this, and I wanted to bring this to you clearly. And I use that as a real world example because in a less specifically seeable way, that is what we've done to our brains. We've got all these things. We've got this and we've got that. And we've got the next appointment, the one that's already coming up after this, that we're already trying to live that. And we're worried about things from tomorrow. And we're still dealing with things from the past. And we've got, if you still have kids at home, you've got a child that's coming up and tapping on your leg. Or in my particular case, you've got a little tiny Yorkie that's, has decided that of all the people in the house, you're the one that needs to take her outside, even though, they're out there sitting there watching television and I'm working. No, sir, you're the one I have chosen to have the wonderful, delightful privilege to get to take me outside, because after all, isn't that how Yorkies see all of the world? We were all put here on the planet just to rub their bellies. And for those of you who didn't know that, if that's a shock to you, now you know that's what your real purpose in the world is to rub puppy belly. Okay, now you know. All those things going on, and it's chaos. And then you throw in on top of that, it's Monday, right? And, so we've got all the Monday stuff going on. And maybe you had a really delightfully delicious reboot weekend, where you got to take time off and run around in your fuzzy slippers all day, or take both of the days. Wow. That don't even get me started on what would that even look like. I have no idea. Or maybe like me, You used it as okay, I don't have any appointments. This is the time that I can really go deep in some of the research projects that I'm really excited about doing, or in the writing that I do, or those kind of things. And so, the weekend's gone. Now, what all of us really honestly probably should have done was we probably all should have laid up in the bed and slept the whole time, with just as much go, 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 go as the world always has. And as we run our lives, we needed that time to just kind of breathe and reboot. That's what we did yesterday during the live, right? So just stopped for a minute and took a breath. Yeah, you get 1 day a week in slippers, and I have no idea what that means. But yes, good for you for fighting for it. It's one of those kind of things. So either way, Monday came, regardless. You took the time off, you didn't. You still don't get an extra day. I think sometimes we con ourselves into believing that, right? We work all day Saturday and we're like, oh, I'm going to take Sunday off. And then we work all day Sunday. We're like, no problem. I'll catch up with it on, and we just kind of gloss over the fact, or worse yet, we don't look at our schedules and, the fact that it's Monday. And that's before we then throw in all the things that come in that aren't on our schedule for Monday. The calls, the emergencies, the people who, and these are the ones that were polite enough to wait until Monday and didn't just already message you on Sunday. That, have something that they need you to work on just immediately. And all of those, and they're just tabs, and they just keep popping up here. And they're like back in the day. Many of you may remember 2000, 2001 on the internet space. If you were back then, pop-ups became really hugely popular. And it would get to the place where, to bring up one web page, you'd have literally that kind of a thing going on. And there'd be this pop-up and that pop-up and this pop-up, and, and before you know it, you forgot even what was it that, and I'm not talking about because, you're older and you're losing, your ability to keep a train of thought, but it's just so many distractions that you forgot what you were even doing at all. Forget about a squirrel moment. It's like, it's like you just got attacked by squirrels and all you can think of in the world now is squirrels. And that's how it felt. And even though we've cleaned some of that stuff up, a lot of it, in internet space, we never really did that with our brains. And we do that constantly with our brains. Like, let me ask you for a minute here. You're listening, okay? And it doesn't matter whether you're live or on the replay, whether you're listening to it right here, right now, 12:30 Central Time on July the 28th, or you're listening to it 5 years from now. Whether you're listening to the whole thing or you're listening to a clip of it, doesn't matter, all right? Because the same thing applies. How many things have you thought of, have you had go through your mind while we've just been talking just a minute, a minute of the 13 minutes we've been here? Let alone how many of you have you had go through your mind in the last 13 minutes? You may hear, I hope you don't, but you may hear my phone has gone off 2, 3, 10 times, whatever. I've gotten to the place where I can ignore it pretty well now. I'm going to get to that, as the next thing when I get to it. And sometimes a message comes through. And even when you're in the middle of a Zoom business call, you've got to take that message really quickly. If one of your kids messages you, or the love of your life messages you, or those kind of things. And it's okay to have those priorities. But all of those things, they pop. They're covering your face, kind of like this, so that, I'm doing my live like this. That's a visual for you, isn't it? You've had a mess to concentrate with, which, just gives you a whole nother squirrel because you can't concentrate on it because of technical issues. And then as you've heard happen a few times when I've been live, somebody will come into the kitchen that's on the other side of my door here. And, that it's not a rudeness or anything. It's just a matter of, they had to get something out of the refrigerator or whatever, and you hear that. Or the dog is inside and wants to get out, or is outside and wants to get in. All of those things, they just keep coming up in our lives. And so what are we struggling with? Clarity, right? We're not clear because there's so many things assailing us. How could we possibly be clear? But, and I hope this isn't too harsh, but it's also a really sexy excuse to help you avoid spending the time and doing the things that you need to do to get clear. Is that message on your phone? Is that scratching of the dog at the door? Is it more important than the moment that you're spending to breathe? To look at who am I really? To find that desire to connect to others and to connect to yourself. Yes, connecting with yourself. We said the same thing simultaneously. Might be some synergy there, right? Got to connect with you. You've got to make the time to take the time to do that. One of the practices I had there for a while, and I've fallen out of doing it. I don't need it as much as I did there for a while, especially back when I was living by myself in Cali. But every night when I was going to bed, I was literally, and these were the exact words, and they may not mean anything to you, but I was literally praying, I release all contracts, everything that I have given myself to, other than my relationship with Jesus. I let them all go. They're null and void. As though they were written out contracts, and I went back and I, got out of every single one of them or invalidated every single one of them. And I did that on purpose at the end of my day so that I could rest. Because what I was doing was I was taking care of all my clients all night long, sometimes literally, and the rest of the time mentally. And I wasn't getting rest. And I was carrying, even when I wasn't doing any of it, I was carrying all that stress with me. And I had to intentionally let it all go every night. Okay. And then each morning, my prayer became, okay, Lord, whatever things I need to pick up today, help me to pick up those and only those. Because, see, it's not about not being a person of your word and not following through on the things that people have paid you to do, the things you've committed yourself to, and all those kind of things. Although, just as a total segue here, some of the things you've committed yourself to, releasing yourself from that, you may find that, yeah, maybe you did tell your friend that you would drive them to the airport, and you got that. We were talking yesterday about that feeling down in your gut, that knower part of you. And you knew you were supposed to say no. You knew you shouldn't do it. Not because you don't want to help your friend. That's why you said yes. Because they're a really great friend and they've done so much for you. And, excuse, reason. So you went against your gut and you did it. You said yes. The releasing of that gives you the opportunity to revisit that and say, hey, you know what? It's going to be a difficult conversation, possibly, although it's my best friend, so they'll be totally understanding. We're going to call them and we're just going to say, hey, look, I know I said I would do it. And even if it means I need to help you pay for an Uber or something like that, it's not wise for me to do that. I looked really honestly at what I'm doing that day, and I just really shouldn't take that on. And there could be a whole variety of reasons, and you don't owe the person all the reasons. You just simply need to be in a space where you look at those things and you stop using the overload as a sexy excuse. And you stop allowing the overwhelm to keep you from what's the most important. Because you do have a unique, valuable purpose. And I'll even go as far with it, because I've been harping on you for a couple months now. You need to clearly, consistently go live every single day. What you may need to do is give me the virtual middle finger and tell me, no, I don't, Steve. That is not the thing I need to take on right now. All right, okay. Even that, if it's just another thing on your schedule, is not worth it. It's not what's important. The clarity is what's important. Now, yes, you need to connect with people. Clarity, consistency, connection. Those are the 3 C's that are going to underline everything you do in life, but especially in your business. And you need to figure out how to make those 3 the paramount, most important, just below your relationship with God in your life, things in your business. How do I connect genuinely and from my heart with myself and with the people I'm meant to serve? How do I do that consistently? Because my heart is to really, truly help them. And then what am I doing today to deliver as clear of a message as I've got right now and get clearer on my message? The more you do it, the more you embrace it, the more you're going to do it, the more you're going to embrace it. Not so that you can open another tab and have 38 things going on in your life now, but so that you can close about 38 of them. In other words, you reboot the whole computer and all the things and the systems running in the background that you didn't even know were still there, and the elements of the last time you had an Adobe PDF opened and Adobe took some of that RAM and never gave it back, which, again, the tech geeks with me are all like, oh yeah, I totally know what you mean. And the rest of you, I just went, and I may as well have been talking about swimming alligators. You might have known more about that than you did about what I just said. And you let that breath come in. Do it. Take a minute. Go with me right here. And then you message, you put in the comments, you direct message me the word clarity. You need a system, a process to get you to clarity in a way that you're going to consistently be clear every day, because you're connected to you, because you're wanting to intentionally connect with the people you're meant to serve. That's where clarity comes in. That's how clarity becomes powerful. And that's what taking today to be a day rather than being the overwhelming manic Monday. Remember that song from the 80s? It's not just another manic Monday. This is going to be our intentional, purposeful Monday, where with everything that's on our schedule, we're going to stop right here, right now. Take that deep breath. Know that you're more than capable of doing all of it. Be willing to throw some of it out because it just isn't important. And then find your true passion, purpose, clarity, connection today. Consistency is all just about showing up and using the day that's called today. And when tomorrow comes, if you make the choice again tomorrow to do the thing that you're meant to do today, when tomorrow is today, that's consistency. Consistency is a reflection of that heart condition that makes you want to connect with people. The clarity is the lesson we need to learn. It's why we need the coach and the mentor and the person that's either from 1 to 1,000 steps ahead of us, or several of them potentially. It's why we need the community to hold us, to be accountable with them, that we are doing it. Clarity is meeting the need of the moment. That's really good, Patricia. Yeah. You see, my friend Ernie Villanueva used to always use the phrase, yesterday's a canceled check, tomorrow's a promissory note, today's the only legal tender you can spend. And I absolutely love that. And you've heard me quote it a zillion times. But I've taken that further, because you remember the whole live we did on this one? Now is the time. Okay? Now is the only now you've got. In the time that it took me to say the word now, the next breath after that now was then. So it doesn't matter what you did this morning, 10 minutes ago. Now is when you have the ability to meet that moment. I love that phrase. I'm going to use that a lot. Meet the moment. Meet it with the best version of you that you have right here, right now, today. Show up for you. Show up for the person that you're meant to serve. That's your clarity, Reboot. That's what it takes. That first pause and deep breath. I hope you've done each one of those each time with me. If not, let's do it again together, very intentionally, on purpose. Here we go. Did you see what happened there? You're starting that inhale, and it's really shallow, and you're just doing it to just do it as an example, or do it because Steve told you to. And then it goes a little longer, and it starts going down into, you're breathing with your shoulders. Okay, you're going, and then you start diaphragm breathing, where you're pulling down and letting it come into your lungs. And when you do that, and when you've been running like a chicken with your head cut off, that same thing that you saw happen with me happens. It turns into more of like a yawn inhale. It doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of loud noise with it, but it becomes that big, where you're breathing and inhaling with your whole being. You see it in your shoulders, your diaphragm, you're everywhere, your whole face. One breath, one thought, one action, one moment. I love that phrase too. Today is your day to take that breath, to do the thing, not everything, the thing, what's really important. To drop the word clarity, let's get you clear. Let's spend a few minutes and just talk about what you need for you. Yes, rhythm does need a downbeat. And we tend to want to be on the, the staccato, where you're like, kind of a thing. And you never, like in Jaws, you need that pause, that breath, that moment. Allow that reboot to really settle into it right now. Do it again. One more time. Let's breathe. Reboot, reset, renew. There's a lot of clarity that's going to come just in that moment when you pause and just reflect, and you just breathe, and you let all the chaos, all the static, all the tabs that were open in your brain, you just reboot yourself, and you come back out clean. And just like all of a sudden when you reboot your computer, it's like massively faster than it was before you rebooted it. Same thing's true with your router. If you're having, if it feels like your internet connection's always slow, you need to reboot your router. You need to reboot your you too. And that goes beyond just laying up in the bed. That has to do with intentionally taking the moment to really breathe. Scientific fact about yawning being how you do reboot emotionally. I believe that. And for those of you that allowed yourself to breathe at that level right now, you felt that. You felt that calm kind of wash over you emotionally. And you're like, And you weren't on camera while you're doing it like I was, but you felt it and you let it in. We're going to talk again more tomorrow about clarity. And I do encourage you to drop the word clarity. Let's get you clear. We're going to spend all week talking about your clarity. And we're going to get you there. Now that you're rebooted, now we can bring up the things that are important on your computer without reopening all 347,000 tabs that you had running, and work on the thing versus everything. Okay? And let's do it together. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate you. I hope this really helped you. I hope that you're happy, safe, warm, and loved. That you did reboot yourself. And if not, that you'll take a minute when we're all done here and you'll do the deep yawn breath. And you will allow yourself to reboot so that you can show up in the world as the amazingly powerful you that you are. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for being you. Until we're together again next time, which, for those of you that don't know, is tomorrow. I hope you have a great week.